Hi, it's Anathea, your divine feminine educator and evolutionary astrologer, and I am here with Erik Roth. Do you consider yourself a shamanic astrologer or evolutionary astrologer or?
Well, my roots are in shamanic astrology, but I now refer to myself as an integral astrologer,
Right, okay,
but with a
integral.
lot of shamanic and alchemical astrology in there.
Great. Well, we have a lot of fun things to talk about today. We had scheduled this a while back. Really happy to have you here, Erik. It's going to be fun for us chatting, but today is actually a special day, and we didn't even plan it that way. Today is a huge conjunction of Jupiter and Venus, and of course, I'm all into Venus, in Cancer at 25 degrees and 46 minutes. And so we're going to talk about that conjunction, and we're going to, you know what I'd love to talk about is the inner beloved if we have time. But before we do
Yes.
that, I want to do my Libra thing. I have the same birthday as Barbara Walters. I was going to say Wawa. And so I want to find out who you are, Erik, and what makes you tick and how the heck did you get into astrology?
So you're channeling that Barbara Walters energy here. Okay. I
Yeah.
get it. Yes. So yeah, it really started well over 20 years ago, when I had a major spiritual awakening, not religious, but spiritual awakening in the early 2000s. And it was in 2004 when I was still in that seeking mode. I have a lot of Sagittarius in my
You do, yeah.
chart. And I was studying with a shamanic counselor and teacher, and her partner is a shamanic astrologer, and she invited me to attend this workshop in Oregon at Brighton Bush Hot Springs. And so it was a weekend workshop, and it involved shamanic astrology along with shamanic breath work. And it was my first real introduction to a more holistic kind of astrology that woke me up, because it also involved the night sky. It involved the deeper levels of who we are as human beings. And it really spoke to me. Before, I kind of dabbled in astrology, but not really was attracted to it. I was fascinated by it, but nothing that really struck me. So it was during that time that I really became much more drawn to it, and I woke up in a space that led me to wanting to learn this information and learn the night sky, learn ceremony with astrology. So we would go to various sacred sites over the years that followed along the West Coast, and I would learn under the stars, and to sometimes go inside, as there was certainly classroom type education in that as well. But there was also education that involved around like working with the signs and planets as what we call kind of theatrical, in a theatrical way, where someone would take on a role um, of a planet or an aspect in a person's chart, and someone would take on another role, and how those things would interact with each other in real time. What would that be like? And so it was literally like almost like processing through astrology with these signs and planets. And it was truly amazing. I got a massive educational dose during this time. It wasn't just about learning from a computer, but you're really getting the more visceral, tangible reality of what these signs and planets represent.
Yeah, I love that. Isn't
And
that called
so,
astro drama?
yes, astrodrama.
Yeah.
I did a lot of that in the mid to late 2000s and the early 2010s as well. Um, and that was a lot of fun. And I encourage everybody, if they're learning astrology, to find maybe a group or a teacher that does that and work with that, because it you can get some by actually playing that role, by stepping into that space. you can learn it much faster than you would just by reading an astrology book.
Yeah, you know, and the thing is, for people that don't really know astrology, it's like these planets have archetypes, personalities, characteristics, and the signs have the same, you know, and so you're blending that energy, you know, um,
Right.
thinking of them as personalities, you know.
Exactly. Like for me though, it's also if part of the reason I was drawn to the astrology was because of its our connection with the sky in actually working with it kinesthetically, along with the astrodrama and everything else that goes along. So for those astrologers that don't like go out into the sky and work with it, I encourage everyone to do that because it'll add another dimension and connection with the earth and sky in that way. But yeah, but for those that are just beginning, yeah, the astrodrama, it's really important, I feel. And you know, you're not having to perform in front of hundreds of people or anything like that. You're just in a small group and you're working with it. Sometimes maybe if you're a writer, you can actually journal like how would an Aquarius Leo interaction be, right? What would that look like? What would one say to the other as an example? They're opposite each other. So what would that look like? And what would their priorities be? What would their likes and dislikes be? You know, how can they find connection? How can they find a common purpose? How can they find fun together, for example? What would that look like? And these are different exercises one could do. Like when I read fictional books, or I see movies or whatever, I'm also looking through the astrological archetypal vision. So I'm seeing archetypes, I'm seeing complexes, I'm seeing planets like maybe overseeing certain things that are happening, a dynamic. And it's just I live and breathe it. So ever since the that 2004 encounter that I had with Daniel Giamario and
Yeah.
doing shamanic breath work, it really spoke to me. And I've since, of course, learned other forms of astrology, other systems, other ways of integrating different things into what I do, just trying to find wisdom and knowledge elsewhere that might be helpful to others.
So what's your daily astrology routine then? You know? Like, are you doing something in the morning on the computer to check where the planets are? And then are you going out in the evening in the sky? I mean, maybe you don't do it every day, but literally I find it, you know, like you said, you live and breathe it. What's your,
Mhm.
I never thought of the idea, your astrology routine, you know, but what is your astrology routine?
Well, yeah, I most of what I do is strangely in the evening time, although in the morning I do check in with the planets and see especially the where the moon is. And I also because I do a lot of social media posts and videos, I'm very tuned in to already where the planets are. So I've kind of got that already in my my consciousness as
Yeah.
I go through my day. But in the evening time, I definitely, when I get chances to go outside and check in with the stars and the planets, and I have every night I say my thanks and my gratefulness to all that is, including all the planets and stars as well. So that becomes really a strong part of my daily experience and spiritually speaking, really helps ground me into who I am and my relationship to the earth and sky.
Yeah. Awesome. As above, so below, right? We learned that from Daniel. So,
Yes, yeah, it comes originally from the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus and the Emerald Tablet. But yeah, that's where I first. I think that's. Well, I don't know if that's where I first learned it because I was studying, uh, you know, consciousness and cosmology and spirituality and shamanism, and I was also studying like I had friends who were Wiccan. So they certainly introduced me to a bunch of different things too. Um, so I don't remember exactly where I first learned that, but he was the one that I think brought it into a more
Yeah, he did for me.
grounded level for
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So you know that that's where we haven't crossed paths, but we crossed paths through that I learned from Daniel Giamario also, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's really interesting because he was a traveler and I think he still is to some extent. But the West Coast was one of his
stomping grounds.
major stops, stomping
Yeah.
grounds,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He lived a lot in Oregon and in California and Arizona. I think those three states the most. And then he would travel around teaching, giving classes and readings,
Well, those were in the days
talks.
when you would do it in person. You would go do the workshops at nice retreat places and that kind of thing, right?
Yes. So the 99% of what I learned originally was through in-person classes and courses and talks.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it was all organic, and these were a lot of them were what he called 5-day intensives. So there'd be morning, afternoon, and sometimes evening classes. And then we go out into the sky, especially if the weather cooperated, and go out and connect with the stars, and we would learn how to navigate that. And it also involved, as part of the graduation requirements, to go out under the sky all night and do an all night, what
I
he called Vision
love
Quest
that. I love that.
uh, path. And I did that in Southern Arizona, and had just an incredible experience. And you really get that deep understanding that the earth itself and the sky, that you're literally on this planet that is rotating, and you're seeing these stars rise and fall, and you're seeing the North Star particularly, that just doesn't really move, but everything is spinning around it. um and I did mine under a super full moon, at the equinox, the March equinox in 2011. And that was one of the most unforgettable experiences I had. I had visitations from animals,
You were doing it by
and
yourself? You were
yeah,
in a
it was on a
sleeping.
private. I didn't really sleep per se.
No, but you were in
There
a
was a
sleeping bag, or what were you?
Oh no, I did have a blanket, but I had this folding chair that extended to like a lounge chair.
Got it. Okay.
And then I was on a private property, and there was a uh like another astrologer's private property, and she had this dog, and I knew the dog, and the dog since long since passed, but he became a powerful spirit guardian for me that night. Um, and he alerted me. I did at one point started to nod off around after I think 1:30 a.m. and then I didn't get much sleep, and I heard him barking around something around 2 after 2 a.m. and there was this owl that came in and was circling around. It was a really powerful night.
Wow.
But my relationship to the stars, took on a higher octave that night as I connected in with that. And you really truly connect with the stars when someone's able to do that, in a way that you can be like a piece of private property, or maybe you're camping in the middle of nowhere. I tried to do that in another part of it, not far from there, like I think a few weeks prior, and I didn't feel safe in that because I think there was some nearby ranch, and I think they let the cattle around, and I heard I heard some things, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to be around when this is
No, I
whatever's
know. And
going
I have
on.
lions and tigers and bears up here. I live in the mountains, you know. And so I
Right.
so desire to look, and I have big, it's not like Arizona where it's all open space.
Yeah,
But when I was a kid, we would go out in the backyard and we would line our sleeping bags up. So our heads were here, like let's say three people in sleeping bags, this way, and our heads were there. And we would just look at the stars all night. And they'd
there you
move,
go.
it was just so amazing. And I do crave that, but lions and tigers and bears, oh my, you know,
Well,
um,
now there's wolves out there too.
and
They've
coyotes.
come back into various parts of the West. But it's I think most predators would leave humans alone in
Totally. I believe
general.
that. Yeah, I think so.
Uh, and I think the only thing you have to worry about is if you had some food around with you and you left it out in the open and a bear might, if they pick up a scent, from because their noses are very sensitive.
Yeah.
They can pick them up for them probably half a mile away or something. I don't know what the range is, but I know that they're pretty sensitive. In fact, I was reading this morning there was a bear encounter just outside of Eugene, Oregon, and so there was the Forest Service was reminding people to not leave any food or garbage out that wasn't sealed up, and because bears like that stuff.
They do. I mean, I've seen a bear just run across my property right here. So,
Yeah,
but I've seen lots of bears and they're like big dogs. As long as you don't have what they want, which is food, you're fine.
yeah,
But they
especially
are
the black
destructive.
bears.
They are destructive. They are strong, very strong.
Yeah, they know how to get into things.
Yeah,
They very intelligent and but they're black bears are usually not unless it comes to wanting food, they're not very aggressive.
right.
Um, the only ones you have to worry about is if you're far up north and there's, grizzlies, you don't have to worry most of the time about bears. But, they're wild animals, so anything's possible.
Anything's fun. But okay, so this is my question. What astrological archetype would you relate bear to?
Ooh, bear.
I know,
That's a
huh?
good question. Um, I I would relate it to uh kind of the Cancer and Gemini. I think it's more than just one archetype. Cancer, Gemini, and hmm, let me think here.
I know. It's a,
I think maybe depending on the type of bear, I would even say like a almost like a Leo type energy.
I was going to say that too, but
Um,
when I asked you that, I was thinking teddy bear for sure, Cancer, but not necessarily a
yeah,
wild
and
bear.
obviously Cancer and mother bear,
Right.
she's she's like full on Cancer mode when she's
And then why do you say Gemini?
having a
Why?
couple of cubbies going on. Gemini because of the curiosity, and uh, they're very intelligent, and they have they're much more clever than we make them out to be, right? Um, and that's the part of that I that. But although they're also I've seen video of bears going after honey in a hive and with bees stinging them, and they're grabbing the hive and they're running away from the bees. I'm like, that's so that could be a little bit of that. I don't know if that's I mean, that could be Gemini foolhardiness, but it could also be like what is it that wants the sweet energy? So it could be like a Taurus type of thing, where there's that interaction. I just want to feel good in my body. I want that sweet energy.
Yeah.
And so they go after the honey. But yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to ponder that more
Yeah, it was
because
just
there's certain
a
animals
yeah. It was
that I
just
would associate like with like certain archetypes. But bear is one of those ones that's a little bit like I think they have multiple archetypes in there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you passionate about? What are you working on? What is your focus in your life right now? I know you do a lot of the fairs. That's how we met. So
Yeah.
Are you all lined up to do those coming? I mean, we'll be seeing each other soon, actually.
Yeah,
Um,
the Grass Valley.
mhm.
I've been doing the Grass Valley event coming up end of June. Yeah, so passionate about, obviously, a passionate about astrology and the
Yeah, yeah.
stars. Um, I like personal interests. I love science fiction. I'm passionate about searching for meaning of truth. I've gotten into more mysticism lately. Um, Passionate about really learning about who we are and learning maybe techniques to discover those deeper truths within us and to be passionate about not just being connected and with the divine, but actually embracing and co-participating with that, co-creating with that energy. And I love being outdoors. I love hiking and traveling. It's one of my joys to be on the road and, you know, go out to other places and meet a lot of people at these fairs
Yeah, no, I think it's
because there's a
great.
lot
As a
of
matter of fact, you have all that Sag energy, one, two, three, four, five planets in Sag. But what I'm looking at in your chart too is that you're upcoming with this Pluto going across your North Node, in
next
Aquarius.
year.
In Aquarius. Yeah, that's intense. Have you already started to feel that?
Um, Possibly. I've certainly felt Pluto squaring my MCIC in recent
Mm.
months because it's early degrees Taurus and Scorpio.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be a big trans. In fact, my friend Greg, he's an astrologer too. He doesn't give readings, but he's goes really really deep into astrology, especially the technical parts of it. So we were talking the other day about upcoming transits, and I was looking at mine where Saturn and Chiron will be conjunct over my North Node and squaring Pluto and squaring my nodes. And so like that's going to be starting in 2027, that's going to be start to develop. It'll be the kind of the beginning stages, then it'll go through 2028. Um, but yeah, I am feeling like there is a like a deeper level of rebirthing happening within me that is very future oriented, like some old ways, old habits, old stuff needs to die off.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean,
And
even
I've
just
certain,
having your Pluto in your first house, you know, uh, trans tr tr transiting Pluto in your first house, you've already been going through a lot of change, right?
yeah, when it was in Capricorn,
Yeah.
uh, years ago. Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Like, and then when it spent, what was it, 13, 14 years in Sagittarius in the late 90s and through the 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of initiations with Pluto, and I certainly
Mhm.
consider myself a very strong, I would say I'm a student of Pluto. So Pluto and me go back a long ways. It hasn't always been a kind relationship, I'll say that, but there have been a lot of revelations, and it's helped me to be the person I am today. So it's doing the deeper work, and I think that's part of the reason in recent months I've started studying more of mysticism,
Hmm.
um, and really connecting in with the different psychic skill sets that I haven't really nurtured all that much, except like intuitive and some things that have to do with like shamanic journeys and but not really refine them. And so I'm starting to kind of look at those parts of me and work with them more strongly. I've even got a student out here in Southern Oregon that I'm going to be working with on a semi-regular basis, and she's got some gifts too that she wants me to help her with. Um, so I'm going to be doing that. We met a week and a half ago, and then we'll meet towards the before the Grass Valley event again. A little hard to get together with her. She's got two little kids, and it's
Mm.
she's always busy. But well, I bring that up because I'm wanting to work on that part of myself, and I think Pluto is as it goes into my I use whole sign houses, so as it goes into this second house of Aquarius, where my North Node is, there's something special about that, and I think that there might be some of the heaviness that I need to let go of in myself is being prompted to be pushed away, pushed out, and that I've been blocking myself, I've been limiting myself in certain ways. So Pluto is kind of helping me face that reality, face what I've been doing to myself unconsciously. So
Yeah, I
I've
mean,
got to
that's
go
a
and look at
powerful
that.
transit you're approaching and needing
Yeah.
it's like a rite of passage, you know. I see
Oh,
you
yeah.
you see it as in your second house because you're using whole signs. Yeah.
Yeah. I know in Placidus it's in the first house.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Right, right.
But
Now
it's a
I have
blend.
no
Yeah.
qualms about certainly there's some interpretation around that certainly makes sense to me as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So I jive with that. I have no like bias going, "Oh, what are you doing looking at Placidus? Are you nuts?" No, I think it's important for
There's room
people to
for all
connect
of
with what
it.
works for them.
Yeah, and there's room for
Yeah.
all kinds of
Well,
lenses. So yeah, no, I mean
absolutely.
transformation and then grounding, Taurus, grounding it into reality for yourself. So just it looks like you're gonna be going through and are going through lots of changes.
But first up is Uranus. Like I've just started my big Uranian cycle initiation over my Saturn, opposite my Sun, and Neptune squaring my Moon.
Oh yeah,
That
okay.
started just at the end of May when it got within a degree,
So what
and
did you
now it's
notice when that happened?
um
So wait,
nothing.
so that people can understand what you're saying. You're saying your Uranus is going over your Saturn in Gemini. So that's
So it's
Uranus
in conjunction with my
yes.
Saturn and Gemini. That's
And
right.
and Saturn is the traditional ruler of Uranus of Aquarius. It's those other two,
Yes,
yeah, the traditional ruler and the modern ruler coming together.
right. So yes. So what this is, the biggest thing that I noticed is I'll give you an example. Last week and a half ago, I was supposed to go up to Salem. So this was just a few days after Uranus came in. Um, I had this, I was supposed to go up there and do readings at the Salem Mystic Fair, and I was just could not sleep the night before. I mean, I had this massive insomnia. I've been taking melatonin for many, many years, and it really disturbed my sleep. And so it prompted me. I didn't even make it because I was exhausted. I didn't even
Hmm.
go up to Salem. So I had to cancel. I had to text a bunch of people, and it was not a good
Hmm.
situation. And it took me a few days to really recover. But it also taught me about my habits and things, and I literally just said I can't do melatonin supplements anymore. I'm done. And I've been sleeping much better. Not 100% better, but certainly significantly better. And I've also been practicing, like you were talking about social media, turning that off. I've certainly been putting more attention on more quiet things
Yeah, yeah.
in the late evening time. And so that's been very, very helpful for me. So that's the so far that's been the one big change that has happened. And yes, I mean, if you think about it, like Neptune's involved, Moon in Pisces is involved. There's a lot of that
Hmm.
hidden energy, dream energy that's being activated. And here I am. I just had this, woke up with this. I still remember the dream. I was able to kind of talk it through in my mind as I was waking up so that I remember it consciously. And so I'm starting to remember dreams more. They're becoming more vivid. I don't need melatonin for that. Although the melatonin made him much more wild. I'll just say that. It was
Wow.
just it exhausted me, I think. Um, but I'm able to be more in touch with my circadian rhythms better now. Um, so Uranus has certainly played a role in that as I've gone through the last week and a half. And it's, going to be with me for I think at least 11 months. If I'll have to look and see. I've got my all these printouts tacked to my wall here.
I would love
And
for you to take a picture of it and send it to me. Do you do those manually or?
well, I no, I print up the report on solar fire,
Okay.
and then it comes out. And then they've got also transit maps, time maps, I should say. They've got that as well. And I've got, yeah, because the first round of Uranus ends in what is that? I think it's like March or April of 2027. And then the next round starts in, looks like August of 2027 when it squares my Mars. Um, so Uranus is, I've been very curious. I've been, of course, knowing this for many years. Like Uranus will be coming into Gemini, and that's going to be a massive transit for me personally. So, what will happen? Well, Uranus is a planet of the unexpected. It's a planet of novelty, surprises, and help us have breakthroughs in our life. And I've certainly felt the surprise, and maybe it was a minor breakthrough. Maybe it could have been a major breakthrough with the melatonin situation.
Mm-hmm.
We'll
Hmm.
see, but I ended up sacrificing like I mean I this is part of how I get my income is going up there, but I
Oh,
also
right.
like all these people I
Well,
love to connect with them.
can I just say something? I wanted to share something with you that's I'm getting a strong hit with all the
Sure.
is that okay if I jump in? With all the outer planets moving from earth, water to air, fire, we are going to have to learn how to ground ourselves, you know? I just bought some earthing shoes with little copper things in them. So they're in transit,
Oh,
you know.
okay.
So
Yeah,
like we are really being challenged now to really shift from being thinking beings to feeling beings. And that, like your whole sign of the North Node, you said the whole sign North Node's in the second house, right?
that's correct.
Yeah, so it's going to really like help you to ground down into, and if you're having challenges sleeping, that's the number one thing of the busy, the busy overactive mind and all that Uranian energy is just, and
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's it's crazy, but it's also highly I've certainly felt more mentally stimulated since
mm-hmm,
it went in as
mm-hmm.
well. And there's so many things that I want to learn and read and do. But there's only enough energy and hours in the day
Yeah,
for
yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah.
right?
But
But
anyway,
yeah, I agree about that. Grounded, trying to come in and to feel
yeah, and
more.
just really, I mean, the best way to describe it is for us to stay in this physical body without going insane, we need to learn how to become feeling beings. And the feeling realm is not part of our cultural awareness. We're more in the logic and thinking and oh, have an emotion. Oh, no, no, no. Let's not go there. But that fire, the pointer of those outer planets, which is Neptune and Aries, that's fire, in a water
Yeah,
sign, in a water planet, not sign, fire sign, water planet. So,
yeah. Neptune's been trining my natal Neptune, right? And that will continue through, I think, early next year.
mm-hmm.
So that's also playing a role here too, right? It's not just Uranus or Pluto, but Neptune.
We're all being affected by
So
these things.
that's
Yeah, but looks
yeah.
strong for you. So, well, let's get to what we wanted to talk about too, about Jupiter and Venus. I want to hear everything
Ah,
you have to say about Jupiter and Venus because today's a special day. And we did not plan it this way. We just put you on the calendar. We actually had to cancel the first appointment
Yeah, we had a scheduling issue
hiccup.
and we picked up this day. So it turned out that this was the best day and
And it's a
here
Venus-Jupiter
we are.
conjunction. So Venus is the planet of love, and Jupiter just exaggerates things, expands things, um,
Yes.
and Jupiter is the ruler of Sag, and you are the ultimate Sag guy. So I want to hear all about how you are interpreting this powerful conjunction, and helping people that maybe know astrology, maybe don't know astrology as much, how they can best use today and that powerful energy that exists there.
So yeah, a person, no matter what their signs are on their chart, we could take advantage of this with especially when it comes to our feelings and our heart, to really expand into that space and allow that heart-mind connection to be more strongly exhibited in ourselves and not shut out. It can certainly, with Jupiter there, stimulate a lot of intuitive and curiosity. But because of Venus's energy, I do feel like the heart is in a prime position here.
Mm,
That and where are our responsibilities? Where are our responsibilities to ourselves and our family and our community? How can we nurture not just ourselves, but those around us too? That's one of the big things that we can do with this Venus Jupiter conjunction at 25 Cancer, is to really connect into that space. So no matter, again, you don't have to have your chart memorized, you don't have to necessarily know it to connect into that energy, that
mhm.
wavelength.
Yeah.
And Venus and Jupiter will be hanging around each other the whole week. So even though today's the day on the day of this recording, June 9th, 2026, for those that are listening and watching, you'll be able to take advantage of this for some days after. Jupiter will stay in Cancer till June 29th, and the very end of the day, June 29th, and Venus will be in Cancer till the 13th. So there's plenty of days to connect with this energy, or this week and beyond, and particularly with Jupiter also in Cancer. So we all have that opportunity. We all have that chance to connect with that. And I would also share too. I did a little video about this, but this conjunction squares Eris, Eris, and she was originally the goddess of discord and disruption and chaos, and a little bit judgmental on the gods and how they described her, because she was also highly intelligent and clever, and she was, I would say, kind of a wizard in her own right. Um, but in modern astrology, certainly Henry Seltzer's work in his book, The 10th Planet, really goes into, he did a lot of good research in understanding what Eris means today. And it's from what I gather and what I've seen, Eris really supports the voice of the feminine and the truth of the feminine, and not just to hide behind something, but to actually stand up and rise and speak your truth, speak your voice without being overridden by what others might think. Like, for example, in the current patriarchal society in which we live in here, it's still make it known, tell your story. And so I think Eris's square to Venus and Jupiter brings a stronger feminine component to this, adding to what already Venus is doing, as an example. And it could show up like in relationships. Maybe it's a good day, maybe for someone and their partner to have deeper, intimate, but more honest and truthful conversations and discussion and experience with each other. Maybe and it doesn't have to be just on this day, but also you
The
could,
energy, yeah.
over the next couple of
Yeah.
days as well, connect with that. Um, so this is really an opportunity to do that. And you see Eris in various special positions in history with particularly women that are showing up and fighting for like rights and suffrage and other important matters that we need to fight for as human beings as well. So, Eris shows up in that way, but it can also disrupt things, meaning like if people are ignoring the truth and trying to avoid it and repressing it, they will call that a disruption or they call that chaos if the truth comes in because they've got their own little bubble. And certainly in the world today, there's a lot of people in their own little bubbles, from the highest levels of the politics to, people in their own communities and in various industries or whatever it might be. We've got all these little bubbles thanks to our social media expansion over the last several years,
Yeah.
especially since COVID. Um, but so this is a chance to go beyond those bubbles. It's a chance to venture where you typically don't venture, so that you can see the greater reality of all that is. Um, and I think it could be even more important, like especially this Cancerian energy. I always look at the Earth itself, Gaia, some related to just one archetype, some multiple archetypes. I think of Earth strongly as both Virgo and Cancer.
Hmm.
It has both of those components in a big way. So maybe if you're just on your own and you want to connect, either if maybe you don't have access to family or there's no family around, just spend some time with Earth. Go out there into the forest or the beaches or the land, the mountains, whatever it might be, you're connecting into that yourself. And that could be a very powerful experience for each and every one of us.
Yeah, beautiful. And well, we have to talk about Chiron and Aries being right there too.
Yeah, it's at 29 Aries. And so it's certainly activating sort of the wounds that are happening for humanity. And it's definitely a chance, especially because there's so much feminine energy there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what are the wounds of the feminine within us too? Not just necessarily that, oh, it only applies to women. It applies to all of humanity
Yeah.
in our interactions with the feminine, not just on a external level, you're between men and women and other genders, but we all have masculine and feminine within us. And so it's a chance to connect into that. What is that softer energy? What have we repressed? What wounds have shown up? Maybe our relationship to our mother, our sister, our, even our daughter, whatever it might be. It's a chance to connect with that. Maybe there's something in us that's being activated there, and for us to work on that and heal that and develop maybe medicine around that
Well, I see
shamanic.
where it could potentially be very explosive, and that's where the benefit of astrology is knowing this.
Yeah.
That you're going to go in saying, oh, wait, I need to be aware of this and really know that there's some extra energy pushing down on me. I have a question with that because I mean, Eris square Venus and Jupiter conjunct, right? And then you put Chiron and Aries in the mix. To me, that's like a lot of relational stuff and a lot of fire and emotions, that so that recipe can have all kinds of things happening. But I just want to ask you a question. If we were to just put purely Venus square Venus, not doesn't matter what sign, if it is square is a challenge, Venus is
Yeah.
the planet of love. So you got Venus square Venus. Let's say two people have that kind of combo or whatever, or it's a transiting thing. Um, how would you interpret because the square is a challenge, but Venus is all about harmony and love and abundance and,
Mhm.
pleasure. And so, I mean, just what in general, what would you say Venus square Venus?
That so I think it could end up being like that you are having a challenge yourself with creating abundance in your life and receiving that maybe nourishment, that
Hmm.
pleasure and comfort,
Hmm.
the ability to connect with love. Maybe it's just it could relate to maybe having a moment, like say if you're in a relationship and then it could create tension. Maybe there's an argument. Maybe you're not giving yourself a chance to to settle in and be present with what's going on rather than being reactive. So the squares create greater tension and certainly can create sort of a force of more reactiveness,
Yeah.
but it's also a decision point too. It's also an intersection. So something wants to be decided in that Venus square Venus. And certainly it could be connected into your relationships. And I think most especially your relationship to yourself and how you treat yourself. Like, are you treating yourself well? Are you nourishing yourself? Are you
Hmm.
giving yourself permission to allow that beauty and that comfort and that pleasure to come in and that greater equilibrium and harmony to come in? Or are you resisting that because you need
Very
to remain
interesting.
tough and strong and you
Right.
gotta, like, no, I don't have time for the softness of life, right? Well, how often, if you're always shutting that off, then you could end up, doing some long-term damage in
Well,
yourself
we're
that could be
all,
helpful.
yeah, we're all learning how to let love in. And
Absolutely.
and then we're
This
getting
is,
our war wounds in the process, and so
yes,
that's
yes, we are.
I
So
call it
that's,
we're in a schoolroom here at Learning How to Love 101.
yeah. Well, this is interesting because Venus in the fall is going to go and retrograde, right? So it'll be
Yes,
in the
yes.
late degrees of Libra and the early degrees of
Yep,
Scorpio.
yep.
And people that have Libra and Scorpio, especially late degrees or square opposition, are going to be at the front lines of this. And you're going to get this massive transit around Venus. Um, but it also brings the feminine to greater focus here. The last time Venus did that was 8 years ago when it went through this particular dynamic. And if it ends up squaring your own natal Venus during that time, it's going to definitely be very strongly felt.
Yeah.
Or if it's another personal point in your chart, maybe your moon or sun, or maybe your one of your angles or something. So that could certainly be felt there. And you know, uh, Scorpio, especially when it's in Scorpio, it's intense. Um, but I do feel like on a collective level, it's going to be helping the feminine rise to another octave of itself, especially looking at trends from the past of what it's done before.
Thank you for that. Yeah, awesome. I mean, overall, I guess my next question would be, do you think we're going to survive? When you look at this astrology moving forward, you know? I mean, do you have
Um,
hope for humanity at this point?
yes, yes, I
Thank you.
do.
That's what
I
I
have I
wanted to
have quite
hear.
a lot of hope.
And tell me why,
Um,
though. I want to know what you're seeing that gives you hope.
well, for all you know, for all disclosure, of course, I have 5 planets in Sagittarius. So I do have at times rose colored glasses on, right? And I fully admit and have that. But I also am Capricorn rising. I got a lot of strong Saturn energy in my chart. So I'm also a realist. I'm also somebody that understands that it's not just going to be all I have hope that we're just going to live in a utopian society, for
Mhm.
example, right? Um, no, I have hope because it's it's the it's the little things that people do all the time to help each other out. And when I see like disasters that happen, and I was certainly front row to this back in 2020 with the fires, people came together. It didn't matter if you were voting red or blue or, on the side of masks or no masks during COVID or whatever. People were helping each other out because we were human, that we were
Yeah,
showing up and saying this fire, oh, all these stupid things that we argue about, and some of them are important, and but if we're not listening to each other, then it just becomes more divisive. But that gives me hope because deep down, it shows that humanity knows what it takes to help each other, knows what it takes to build community and connection,
Hmm.
even if we can't agree on things. In fact, throughout history, we've never had full agreement on anything. And so if you can accept that and work on that and but actually have like some common grounds of reality, it's like, oh, we all want clean water and clean air to breathe. We want all our children to grow up in a safe environment. If we can agree on some of these things, we can actually have connections and have fun and share, break bread together, right? This is what gives me hope. And I see some of the good in humanity. I think that there's for every violent, evil action that we see out in the world, I think there's 10 times as much good that's
Oh yeah.
happening, but it's not being shown very much out there,
Right,
right?
right.
It's not sexy. It's not getting the ratings.
It's
So, but
sexy
it
for
is,
me to see goodness.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
of
sad
course.
part. You just turn anything on and it's just all about programming and manipulation and
And
violence,
profit.
the violent profit, all of that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we got to
It's follow the,
money.
sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. We just got to juice it up for ourselves. We got to open our hearts. We've got to, create. What did Gandhi say? Be the change that you want to see in the world.
Mm.
We've got to be it on a frequency level. I really believe on a frequency level, we have to actually be that change. So that's kind of where I'm at with it, and also non-attachment, letting go of how it should be going forward, and that we can only affect so much change, and getting our egos out of the way, getting our agendas out of the way. But I do love astrology, and I love that the astrology can help people be better and have more awareness about themselves, and
Yes.
so that's where I feel it's so powerful. And I know that as we move forward, that astrology will become more and more common. At least I feel that, especially with Pluto and Aquarius, you know.
Oh, yeah. I do feel like Pluto and Aquarius uh, is going to help humanity on a conscious level come into a new position. Like, because the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, it was and at the end of Capricorn, but in going into Aquarius, it was really in the first time that we started talking about individual rights and human rights, like particularly in the North American area and also in parts of Europe. I haven't done full research on that, so it might have been appearing in different parts of the world too, other parts of the world. But it was really people were starting to write about it. Like, what are rights? What are human rights? For centuries before that, people were living under the monarchical and
Mm,
divine rights of the kings and the royalty, and they had lordship over the land, and so they dominated. But people started to really rise, and of course, it was the first time. The United States, it was during that time we formed a country, formed our constitution, and that was a great experiment that is still
still in
trying
process.
to still ongoing, that's having
Hiccups.
some issues, but we're making do, and I do feel like a new version of that is due in the coming years. Like we have an opportunity to maybe create something even better. So this experiment is Pluto Aquarius is supporting this experiment, but also allowing us to maybe have a rebirth of something else. And what would that be? What goes beyond just human rights and collective rights? Like what is that? Universal rights, perhaps. Maybe there's something even more happening here underneath things. And the people that are in power around the world, not all of them, but there's a lot of them that are holding on to power because they know that the change is coming and they're
Hmm.
afraid.
Hmm.
And so they're just grasping whatever they can and with their last breath.
Yeah.
And the old ways are dying. And we need to allow them to pass away because there's new stuff coming up and that needs room to breathe, that needs to grow. And just like, when we have new forms of energy that overtake other forms of energy, new systems and structures and so forth that come in, new knowledge, techniques, and whatnot. So Pluto Aquarius is here to help us, and I think it's going to do a really good job of assisting us along this path. But it's also about seeing the shadow of it too. So part of what we're seeing, for example, the technocrats,
Right.
we're seeing these massive tech companies that are, hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars, and people becoming potentially trillionaires as well. We're seeing this wealth disparity. There's actually another connection to that as Chiron moves into Taurus beginning June 19th.
Hmm.
I have a whole video about that that's connected to the first Gilded Age
Wow.
and wealth disparities. So I do feel like we're going to go into some economic roller coasters, but I also feel that that Pluto Aquarius, it's going to allow us to dig in deep to see how we can uh, do better for each other around the world with our ideas, with our consciousness, with our desires for, like, I always think of like the one song that epitomizes like the utopian version of Aquarius is the John Lennon song Imagine,
Hmm.
right? That's the ultimate Aquarian song with a little bit of Pisces sprinkled in there too, I think. But um it doesn't mean like that's an idea. It doesn't mean that that's the only way we could do it, but it's striving for something along those lines, perhaps, where we can find greater connection and community. Because I do feel like most of the world population, if would actually love each other as brothers and sisters without blowing each other up. I think that's just a small percentage of the
Yeah,
human
who
population.
wants war? Exactly. So with that Pluto
Right.
approaching your North Node in Aquarius, you got some big work to do.
Yes. Now, I'm not going to bear the responsibility of trying to save the world. Okay. I don't want that.
No, but
I don't want that at all. I'm not going to be some genius superhero astrologer that needs to.
no, no, and your soul's going to just direct that whole thing anyway. But it's beautiful.
Right.
It's really powerful, and I think that's it's about partnership too, because the ruling planet's in Libra. Aquarius is in Uranus. I'm sorry, Uranus is in Libra. So it's about partnerships, expanding
Mhm.
partnerships. You know, maybe you'll find
Yeah, I got
a partner in crime to move. To go forward.
maybe so. I mean, I'm always open to that idea,
Yeah.
and I've been so focused on my own practice that it hasn't been that big of a priority for me. But there was the recent Saturn Neptune conjunction that was in opposition to my Pluto, and then of course Saturn will oppose my Uranus and Libra too. Well, it won't be exact until next year, but it will get close in the summer. Um, so yeah, there is definitely some additional uh, potential there around that. And who knows, Uranus may create some surprises that I would never see coming, like a meteor showing up, or a comet that just astronomers never thought could show up in the way that it shows up, for example, that
Yeah.
becomes this amazing sight in the sky and like, whoa, blows our minds, like Hale-Bopp or other comets that have shown up through history. Um, so these are the kinds of things I'm open to. I'm open to the possibilities, and
Yeah.
uh, I try to move with life with a certain fluidity and try to minimize my expectations. Because if we have too much of the way of expectations, we can actually repress our own uh, curiosity and sense of wonderment about the world and cut off a part of our joy. if all we have is these fixed goals and this is what we need to meet and forget about anything else, right? Um, I embrace that life is unpredictable. But as it's been said, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes, right? And so the rhymes can feel like a repetition because it's part of the greater pattern. And
Mhm.
we have in our own stories, like me and you and others, we have patterns that come back around. And but I'm still wanting to change the pattern. There's this great um, show, my favorite, all-time favorite science fiction show, before streaming really became a thing, was the remake of Battlestar Galactica in the
Okay.
mid 2000s. And because it was so gritty and human and like it really got into like the characters. It wasn't just about the space stuff. I bring that up because there's a saying in there that has to do, it's like what has happened before will happen again. What has happened before will happen again. And they were, towards the end, they were trying to find a way to break the cycle, to break that cycle. And they found one way to do it at the end. I'm not going to give away, for those that haven't seen it, it's
I want to
just
watch it. Yeah.
ama- amazing acting. Just, I mean, the acting's just, you really get the characters really, uh, they're like, I don't know, they really live the archetypal energies that they're failing in that, in their feeling in that way. But it's in like if we keep repeating ourselves, humanity, or even in our personal lives, we're going to keep repeating these patterns, these old patterns that are not, that are toxic. Like now it's time to like look at that more carefully and go, wait a minute, we don't have to keep repeating
Right.
this.
Right.
We can choose a different path. So there's a lot of astrologers that are looking at Uranus and Gemini that like every time Uranus has been in Gemini, the US has been in a major war. But
It's like, yeah, we're over that. Come on. Are we
right, but
not
do we have
evolved
to
enough
choose
yet?
that? We can choose something else. We can
Right.
choose a
Right.
different expression of this. And so this is what I do feel like it's not a guarantee that we're going to go to war. I feel like we have a chance to change it. Now, obviously, we're the United States and Iran are in this weird liminal space of war, not war kind of a thing. Um, and who knows where it's all going to go, but we have a chance to do something different.
Well, yeah,
And
I don't even want to comment on that because I don't know enough to know enough. But from a broad perspective, I just am like, come on, are have we not evolved yet? You know, so there's a lot of shifts that
exactly.
need to take place. A lot of shifts that really need to change to take the power and take it and move it to the people. So that's the potential of Pluto and Aquarius also taking the power and moving it to the people, the collective, you know.
Yes,
So
that's
let's keep
another
our
thing. I
fingers
agree.
crossed on that, and that it's
Yeah,
not the elites and then the underlings. So.
I agree. Like, and this is the thing is um some of the oldest teachings in when it comes to metaphysics is like begets like, and violence begets violence, but also love begets love.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we, instead of going back into that pattern, with the violence, it's just you start war, you blow this up, you blow that up. It's just going to create more seeds for more violence. That's all it's going to do. And you're not going to resolve anything. Now, obviously, I understand that if you're somebody's coming and you need to defend yourself, that's a different matter. That's a situation you need to approach. But in like on a larger global level, perpetuating that is just not the answer. And peace, love, we can create these things very easily.
Well, I think
Uh,
that what we're realizing is how out of control we are with the zillionaires, and I call them zillionaires now, the zillionaires shenanigans. You know,
yeah,
and it's serious stuff. It's very serious stuff because they're taking people's lives, they're disempowering people. There's a lot of backwards, upside down, crazy. ridiculous behavior and a lot of
Yeah.
people's lives being affected because of it. But um, we've got to make the evolutionary leap, and now's the time. And I hope that people are realizing that, it's just inside of us to be able to, hold a different consciousness, a different awareness. And so that's what I'm keeping my fingers crossed on.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you on that. Yeah. I feel like we can get there if enough people show up for themselves and with others and
Yeah, yeah,
from a place of love and support rather than oh, I must rather than a place of like I need this object or I need this material or this resource. Like how do we do it together? How do we do it as a community, as a collective?
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm with you on all of this. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we've been going for over an hour now. We should
Oh, have
probably,
we?
yeah,
Okay. Well, yeah, we could wrap up and maybe have another conversation later too.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
So how do people get a hold of you? Tell me what, like you give readings. You're not teaching any classes per se right now, are you?
not at the very moment, but I will be in the future, yes. But you can find me on my website in spiralnexus.com. The
We'll
word
have the link
in
below. We'll have the
IN.
link below.
Yes, we'll have a link below. And with my email address as well, spiralnexus@gmail.com. And I do personal astrology readings, astrocartography, mentoring and guidance, regular monthly mentoring and guidance for people one-on-one. And I do events so I can show up at various places and do readings at say a crystal shop or a party, if someone wants to invite me to that as an example. Couples readings, anything to do with astrology, I can do solar returns. People can think about all kinds of things. But that's what I do most of the time. But I'm also a content creator and I'm creating a lot of astrology stuff for people to learn about, to just to bring awareness into the world around astrology and encourage people to, there's a lot of astrologers out there to find what they feel like they're in harmony with and learn that isn't just one astrologer has all the answers. I recommend you spread your wings to other avenues as well, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of great wisdom out there as well. And I just encourage people to explore that.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here with me. Love everything, all your
Yeah.
wisdom and what you shared. And let's enjoy this day, this new cycle with Venus and Jupiter, you know?
Yes. Yes. We have a massive changes coming up in the summer. Major planetary alignments, and I'll be posting more videos about that. But let's just say that, we're really in the thick of some major change for humanity, and in the long term, it's going to be to our benefit.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's the space that we're holding at least, right?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Cool. And I'm just trying to think, where the heck do I pause? I don't want us to disconnect. Where the heck do I pause? It just doesn't even show
Oh,
that
you just yeah, you
they take
down
the,
below you
yeah, on
find it?
record. Hold on.
Yeah, there you
Oh
go.
yeah, okay. So thanks everyone for being here. We really appreciate it. Take care.